Doña Teresa reached the mansion before dusk, her arms full of flowers and her back bent under the weight. She carried baskets of carnations, green branches, and small bouquets that still smelled of damp earth. When she saw the white tablecloths, the musicians tuning, and the glasses shining under the chandeliers, she pressed her lips with quiet pride. That party could finally bring food and medicine for Sofía, her granddaughter, waiting in a house where almost nothing was left. At the entrance, 2 employees looked at her as if she were in the way. Doña Teresa did not lower her head. She asked permission in a soft voice and began placing the arrangements on the tables. Her fingers trembled from exhaustion, but every flower found its place, as if the mansion breathed a little warmth for the first time. From the staircase, Doña Eugenia watched in silence, flawless in an expensive dress, with eyes that never smiled. She saw no beauty, only a poor woman inside her world. When the old woman finished the first floral arch, a few early guests stopped to admire it. Doña Teresa heard a compliment, and for one instant she pictured Sofía eating dinner without fear that night. Then Doña Eugenia came down slowly, ran one finger over a clean leaf and twisted her mouth. "This looks far too simple," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Teresa felt the payment slipping away before she ever received it, yet she still held the flowers against her chest. 4 days before the party, Doña Teresa looked at her tiny backyard the way someone looks at the only thing she has left. The pots were worn, the soil was dry around the edges, but there grew the flowers she cared for from early morning until dark. Sofía watched from the doorway, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes tired. "Grandma, don't sell them all," she murmured. Teresa smiled without showing fear. If that job went well, their humble house would have food and medicine. Doña Eugenia's order had arrived like a great promise, but also like a pressure tightening around Teresa's chest. There was no advance payment, only a long list of demands, and one cold phrase: "I want something worthy of my name." Teresa accepted because she had no other choice. That afternoon, she counted the few coins hidden in a tin can, bought wire, ribbons, and floral foam, then walked home to save money. Every step hurt, but she thought of Sofía and kept going. That night, while the town slept, Doña Teresa cut her best flowers one by one. She did not tear them away like merchandise. She handled them carefully, as if saying goodbye to the color of her own little yard. Under a weak lamp, she prepared centerpieces with swollen hands and a burning back. When dawn slipped through the cracks, the garden already looked emptier. Teresa looked at the full baskets and understood that someone else's party was taking the little beauty she still had. The next day, the mansion looked like another world. Trucks unloaded tables, crystal pieces, and silver trays, while Doña Teresa entered through the side door with baskets pressed against her body. She had barely set the flowers down when Doña Eugenia appeared, perfume in the air and a folder in her hand. She did not greet her. She pointed to the main hall and said everything had to look finer, taller, more expensive. Teresa nodded silently, though her legs still trembled from a sleepless night. Doña Eugenia walked behind her, as if waiting for a mistake before it existed. "That arrangement needs more volume. That color does not match. That arch must impress from the entrance," she repeated, never looking at Teresa's hands, full of tiny cuts and soil under the nails. The old woman climbed stairs, moved heavy vases, and started several centerpieces again. Each deep breath burned through her back, but she never complained. She needed that payment in full. From the corridor, Lucia, Doña Eugenia's granddaughter, watched the old woman place the last branches with a tenderness no one seemed to notice. She saw Teresa clean a stained leaf with the edge of her own apron and hide a small grimace of pain before continuing. By sunset, the mansion was filled with flowers, light, and perfume. Everyone spoke of luxury, but Lucia felt something heavier than beauty in that room. There was exhaustion buried inside every arrangement. When Doña Teresa placed the last garland along the staircase, the mansion already shone, as if it had never known dust. Guests were starting to arrive in fine suits, expensive perfume, and smiles prepared for the occasion. Some paused in front of the main floral arch and murmured their praise. Teresa lowered her eyes, exhausted but filled with relief. She had done her part. All that remained was her payment and the walk back to Sofía before the house turned cold for the night. Doña Eugenia appeared among the guests with a glass in her hand and a smile that never reached her eyes. She studied the arrangements as if hunting for a stain no one else could see. She touched one flower, shifted a vase barely an inch, and sighed. "This is not what I asked for," she said. Teresa froze. The employees stopped walking. "These are yard flowers, far too simple for my party," Eugenia added, loud enough for all to hear. Teresa felt every eye fall on her hands. Teresa swallowed hard and respectfully asked for the payment they had agreed on. She asked for nothing more, said nothing about her pain or the nights without sleep. She only said she needed to go home. Doña Eugenia closed her purse with the calm finality of a door being shut. "I'm not paying for this," she replied. Then she stepped closer, cold and elegant, and said it in front of everyone, "Get out of my party." Teresa clutched the leftover flowers to her chest and walked out alone. The party went on as if nothing had happened. Glasses clinked, music filled the hall, and guests walked among Doña Teresa's arrangements without knowing that every flower had come from a backyard left almost bare. One woman stopped before a centerpiece and said the decoration had soul. Another asked for a photo under the main arch. From the kitchen, a maid heard the praise and lowered her eyes because she knew the old woman who had made it all had left without a single coin. Lucia tried to smile when several guests congratulated her grandmother on her taste, but something weighed on her chest. She remembered Doña Teresa's swollen hands, the stained apron, and the way she had left through the side door holding crushed flowers. Lucia searched for her among the employees, in the garden near the entrance, but she was gone. The absence felt louder than the music. Then she saw Marta, an old maid of the house, wiping her eyes with her sleeve, far from everyone. Lucia followed her into the service hallway and asked what had happened. Marta hesitated, glanced toward the ballroom, and spoke in a low voice. Teresa had worked before dawn, used the best flowers from her own garden, and spent the little money she had to fulfill the order. "Her granddaughter is waiting sick at home," she added. Lucia felt ashamed for staying silent. Outside, the party kept applauding, but inside her something broke, and she could no longer look at the flowers the same way. When the time came for the toast, Doña Eugenia stood before the cake with her glass raised and a perfect smile. The guests grew silent, waiting for her speech about family, effort, and good taste. At the back of the hall, Lucia felt those words would fall over the flowers like a lie. She looked at the main arch, the centerpieces, the branches placed with patience, and stepped forward before her courage failed, her heart pounding hard beneath her dress in the silence. "Before we toast, I need to say something," Lucia said, her voice trembling but clear. Doña Eugenia turned at once, serious. "Not now," she whispered, but Lucia did not step back. She pointed to the flowers everyone had admired all night and spoke louder. None of this was made by some elegant company. It was made by Doña Teresa, an elderly woman who worked for days, spent the little she had, and left this house through a side door without being paid a single cent. The hall went still. One glass stopped before touching another. Doña Eugenia tried to smile, but the guests were no longer looking at the cake. They were looking at the flowers. "Lucia, enough," she ordered, her lips tight. But the young woman continued. "My grandmother threw her out in front of everyone after using her work to impress you." No one clapped. No one spoke. The shame once placed on Teresa began to fall slowly and heavily on the mistress of the mansion. Lucia hurried to the entrance with Marta, asking the staff to find Doña Teresa before she disappeared into the night. They found her on the sidewalk beneath a yellow street lamp, arranging leftover flowers inside a broken basket. She was not crying, but her eyes were red and her hands were clenched to keep them from shaking. When Lucia called her name, Teresa turned slowly. Behind the young woman, several guests stood in silence, finally seeing the woman the party had tried to erase. Doña Teresa walked back inside without raising her voice. The music had stopped, and even the employees were watching from the doors. Lucia stood before her with an envelope in both hands. "This is your full payment," she said, then turned to the guests. And it is also an apology for allowing your work to be treated like shame. Teresa took the envelope carefully, not from greed, but because inside that paper was Sofia's dinner, her medicine, and several more days of hope. Doña Eugenia remained beside the cake, rigid, unable to find one elegant phrase that could save her. No one insulted her, no one needed to. The silence of her own guests weighed more than any shout. Someone began to applaud Doña Teresa, then another, and soon the entire hall honored those humble hands. Teresa left the mansion with the money she needed, and her head held high. That night, the flowers still decorated the party, but no one looked at them again without remembering who made them.